If we're not at a Disney park, we're dreaming about being there, and a cup of Joffrey's Coffee Disney Blend helps. But what about when you're at a Disney park? The Joffrey's Disney Kiosk and Restaurant Locator will make sure you never miss out. Whether it's a cool drink on a hot summer vacation or a great cup of coffee at a Disney signature restaurant, Joffrey's has you covered. Check it out at joffreys.com.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our final boarding call, and the doors will be closing soon.
Hey everybody, welcome to ResortLoop.com. I'm your host, Bob Collar. Of course, Tim Scott not with us tonight because we're talking movie reviews with my son, Bobby. Hello, Bobby.
Hello, Dad.
Again, if you listen to our last show, this is our Avengers Infinity Wars review. There will be spoilers. Again, I can't stress enough, there will be spoilers. We're not going to spoil the whole movie, but if you have not seen it yet and you don't want any part of any kind of spoiler, don't listen. Listen later. After you've seen the movie, listen and then, compare notes and see what you guys think of what we are going to talk about. But we're going to try not to give too many spoilers, but this movie's just, wow.
Yeah, and it's a movie that you don't want to be spoiled before you see it. So, again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't
right.
do it.
Shut it off right now. We don't typically tell people to shut the show off.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
They just do it on their own usually, but today, make sure, because again, this is your Avengers Infinity Wars review with some possible spoilers. So, first off, the movie starts right as Thor Ragnarok left off.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok, they're on the ship with all the Asgardians.
Yeah, what's left of
Asgard. If you haven't seen that one, sorry about that. Spoiler alert as well.
Oh, it's been a while. If you haven't seen that one yet, then there's something wrong.
You see Thanos' ship come up. Yeah. And that's kind of how the movie then starts. You hear a distress call from the Asgardian ship, and then they cut to the inside, and of course, some stuff has happened.
Oh yeah,
inside.
Lots of stuff has happened.
We're gonna lose right out of the gate. We lose a beloved character out of the gate,
us from the beginning,
or do we? Is the question?
Well, there's two beloved. Well, one of them is my beloved character.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know. I don't think so.
So the other one we've lost in the past, and
there's a reason he's called the God of Mischief. So,
very exciting to that. It's nice to see. I got to say this before we get really into the movie. I have never. I can't remember ever there being anything like this MCU, is like people are liking to call it, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There is no other example of this that I could think of. Now, others are starting to do this. Star Wars is now doing it. They're branching out with Solo and things like that.
I don't want to interrupt, but there is one example.
Which one?
A bunch of crossovers in one place.
All right.
It's the House of Mouse.
There is that. So Disney's been doing
that was the original crossover.
I stand corrected. Disney has been doing crossovers for decades, so it makes sense that this would actually happen. But as far as movies go, as far as major films, you can't count Star Wars. Star Wars was a continuation, in essence, of
it's
a single
story.
But you're taking elements from everywhere in the Marvel universe and bringing them all together.
Yeah, the best elements of
and
it
have
too.
been, and really have been from the get-go.
Yeah.
So this is groundbreaking film that we're experiencing in our lifetime. This has never been done before. Now DC's trying to pull off some of that.
They're trying to catch up.
They're trying to catch up. But other than that, as Star Wars, because it's a Disney franchise now, they're doing similar things, which is fine. But never has there been all these different stories. And that's the thing that's so amazing about Infinity Wars is it's not what a lot of people are going to think, where everybody's together at the same time.
Oh no.
They're in all kinds of different stories that are all tying in to this main story, this final event.
Yeah, it's groundbreaking. Like you said, this has never been done before, but they have pulled it off in one movie. And this is a 3-parter. It's not even like this is just one movie and it's a one and done deal. Like they are going to continue just breaking ground with every film that they release, and that's what's so incredible about. Yeah, it's an underdog story, to be honest, because Marvel wasn't doing so well before Iron Man, and then Iron Man showed up, and suddenly they're huge. Their movies are huge.
Little side story: Happy in the Iron Man, John Favreau.
Yeah,
he was instrumental in getting Robert Downey Jr. that role.
Really?
He did a movie, I think Kiss Bang Shoot, something like that, where Robert Downey Jr. was in it, and because of Robert Downey Jr.'s great acting in that movie, he convinced Disney and Marvel that this was the guy for Iron Man.
Really?
Without Jon Favreau, we got a completely different Iron Man.
Wow.
Yeah,
he's kind of like the behind-the-scenes guy. He's
so smart.
He's a director, isn't he?
Director, producer,
actor, producer. Yeah. He's a jack of all trades.
Doing
incredible.
It all. Yeah, and does them all very, very well. So the story, you guys that have seen it, you already know kind of what the story is. But we wanted to give you a little bit of back story and a little behind-the-scenes look from some of the actors as well. So one of the favorite scenes that people take away from the trailer and the movie itself is when Spider-Man meets Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, the made-up names.
Which is it's so funny and it's so good. But what a lot of people don't know is those two guys, Tom Hiddleston and Benedict Cumberbatch, know each other. They've acted together before. They do.
Do they?
Now, Benedict is much older than Tom, but they've still done some work together, and their interaction with each other it's very good. We've got an example of that right here.
Exhausting.
It was tiring, man. Benedict's a real diva, and
she says. Tom leaves his hair doing again. Does he? Right.
I had a lot of it. I was making 2 films at once, right? And we were making 2 films together at the same time.
2 syllables, 1 word. Pomade.
And in the film that we were making together in London, I had a very old school haircut where I had those 3 curls like this, and then a massive swoop. So then I got to Avengers, and they were like, "We want to cut your hair," and I felt really passionately about the London project, and I said, "Well, guys, listen, if there's any way we can work around not cutting my hair because I don't want to jeopardize my work in London," they said, "Sure, we'll just make it that Spider-Man has really long hair." So in this film, I have the most ridiculously coiffed, stupid haircut of all time.
I was actually joking, but that is a lot revealed about your hair.
If in the I saw it in the trailer, I was like, that just looks ridiculous. I look like Prince Charming. I look like I've got some weird flowing...
There's a very big Disney audience that will like that.
I didn't notice the hair. Did you notice?
I didn't either. Actually, it looked more like Peter Parker in the comics than in Homecoming or Civil War, so I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Which, of course, is a huge get for Disney because Sony owns the Spider-Man franchise of Marvel. And so there's a little bit of, give and take there. They allowed Robert Downey Jr. to be in the Spider-Man Homecoming and of course, Tom Holland to be in these movies. But, I'm excited. I can't wait to see some of these other characters that come in. Of course, very little discussion about where Hawkeye and Ant-Man are.
Yeah, just a couple of lines. I think that they're going to have a really big role in the second and third parts.
I agree, and I think that we talked about this, and again, those of you that have watched this movie, again, spoiler. I think what happens to many of the characters, you even said this, what happens to many of these characters after at the end of the movie is going to happen to Ant-Man or the Wasp or possibly
I disagree.
Both. You disagree? It's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
I think that Ant-Man and Hawkeye are gonna pull through. Because it's think of it, it's a perfect end credit scene for Ant-Man and the Wasp. You know, they get done doing, beating up the bad guy of their film, and then the post-credit scene is, where are all the superheroes? And then boom, it goes to black. And
I don't know.
Or maybe Wasp.
It could be interesting to see if one of them, when they're all done and they're like, glad that it's over with and they've succeeded, and then all of a sudden one of them just
I think if one
has
of them
that experience happen to him.
If one of them,
and then they're like, what the? And that's the end of the movie.
It's definitely going to be Wasp. I think because
if that's the case. Anyway, back to Tom Holland. I loved this. I thought this was fantastic. So they asked Tom Holland what was fun about making the movie or being a part of this. And as many of you know, the Russo brothers from Cleveland guys, local guys, which makes me say to everybody out there, all those kids out there, just because where you live isn't Hollywood doesn't mean you can't be a part of something. If that's what you want to be, or whatever it is, you want to be a part of NASA. You don't have to live in Florida to be a part of NASA or Houston to be a part of, just be good at whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, try new things.
But anyway, so I love this. This from Tom Holland when they asked him what was fun about this movie. Huge Disney tie here. This is fantastic.
Do you know what's actually really cool? I recently, for the first time, went to Disneyland in China, and Joe Russo took me on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. And it's like you basically are in a boat and it takes you through an experience of Pirates of the Caribbean. And that is the closest reminder to what it's like being on set of Avengers. Because I'm watching franchises. Well, but think about it. There was a lot of sets, We had loads of massive spaceship sets and stuff. And the guys who built those sets are true artists. And, I'm on set working with people in franchises that I've grown up watching. And I felt like I was just a sort of spectator in a sort of really awesome sort of virtual reality.
So how about that? Your director takes you to Disneyland, Shanghai Disneyland, and you ride Pirates of the Caribbean.
And even more of a compliment to Disney that it reminded him of the actual sets of the movie. So they're doing something right with their rides if it's reminding the actors who were in the movies of the movie.
This is like being in a movie, right. So I thought that was kind of cool. There's a little Disney tie there with that. So very cool hearing from Tom Holland, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. But okay, so that brings us to a big controversy going on the internets right now. If any of you, again, spoilers everywhere for what's going on, Chris Pratt, poor Chris Pratt, Star-Lord. Everybody loves Star-Lord, right? Everybody thought Star-Lord was cool.
Used to.
Everybody loves Star-Lord. Well, everybody's ripping into Star-Lord now. Everybody's ripping into Star-Lord.
I have something to say about that.
All right, go ahead.
So after the terrible scene with Star-Lord, I don't mean terrible as in
some people calling it the Gilligan scene, because in Gilligan's Island, Gilligan always messed things up.
Oh, right. But anyways, with that scene, the Gilligan scene, afterwards, after everything's happened, I don't want to tell you what happened, but after everything's happened, Doctor Strange looks at Tony and he says, "Tony, there was no other way." So that makes me think that, okay, like it was really terrible what Chris Pratt did and everything, or Star-Lord, not Chris Pratt. What Star-Lord did, right? But obviously there was no other alternative.
Right.
So
okay, but listen, folks, And I agree with you 100%. But everybody got to calm down, okay?
Yeah.
Here's the biggest spoiler of them all. Are you ready for this? Guys, it's a movie, okay? He had to do that. Otherwise, the movie's extremely short.
Yeah.
All right? So,
yeah.
I mean, everybody, I cringed. I cringed when he did what he did. I did.
Yeah, me too.
But it was like, it's, and I'm like, no, they've almost got him stopped. And then, but he had to do it because it's part of the movie.
Yeah, don't rip the actor apart because of the role that he plays.
Especially Chris Pratt. He's one of the nicest, humblest guys.
Yeah, real lovable guy.
Ever going to meet if you ever get a chance to meet him. Super nice guy. As a matter of fact, this is what he said when talking about Robert Downey Jr. This is very cool.
Robert Downey Jr. is an amazing lead, and you could tell that he was really celebrating this film and being with the cast, because he would host these massive lunches at his base camp and invite everybody, and they'd be like roasting a goat, and he'd have like music and props, and he's like really a kind of guy who's a champion for actors on these type of sets. And a movie like this monumental, you can kind of get swept up in the process and end up working so many hours through the course of the day. And Downey's has enough experience and wisdom that he's like, no, we're going to work as many hours. We're going to work 10 hours, and at 10 we're done. And like he makes sure that the actors are really protected and that we're enjoying the process, and that we're like he totally included all of us. It was really nice. And so you definitely, I feel like I learned and leveled up by watching him, because I'm thinking that's how you should do it. If you can, and you have the power, make the process even more enjoyable for the people. And don't work so hard. Stop sometime. Not that he doesn't work hard, but stop and smell the roses.
So there you go. I mean, he looks up to Robert Downey Jr. The thing I really liked about that when he was talking about that is how, and this was a theme throughout the interviews, was that they all came together. All of these different franchises. You got the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, completely different kind of feel to the movies. Yeah. And then you got the Avengers franchise, completely different feel to the movies. And then, of course, you got, Doctor Strange that's kind of out there by himself, now being brought into the whole thing. Just the inclusiveness of all of this. And that's because of Robert Downey Jr. bringing everybody together. Again, Jon Favreau, brilliant job tapping him to be Iron Man.
Yeah.
Who is not only the leader of the Avengers, the MCU, but just a nice guy himself.
Yeah.
And this is what he had to say about that goat situation.
All right, I used to call myself the head of the acting department. Now I was given the name the Godfather, or the Bob Father. I've heard that said too. But now what I am is a very comfortable and lazy event coordinator. That's essentially what I do now. So, bar mitzvahs, parties, weddings, after parties, and certainly production lunches. That's something that I special in.
Goat was served. There was a goat roast.
There was. Where did you hear this? Yeah, and I'm trying to think why. Oh, because the chef said, sometimes you're in Georgia. She said, I have a backyard and I could probably roast a whole pig, but it's a whole thing. I got to dig a hole. And I was like, jeez. I was like, well, we're going to need that. And then it just seemed a little less brutal, but even stranger that there was a cloven-hoofed animal brought to her. It got very medieval that day. I'll tell you that much. And I'm told the goat's name was known. The goat had a pretty nice life before it was ended prematurely for our needs. Look, the whole world should be heading towards being vegetarian, but until then, don't give me any guff. Once the thing's already been offed, I mean, if I got offed, I would rather be served while I still tasted good.
So there you go. There you go. Robert Downey Jr. will be on the menu someday. Is he not Iron Man? I'm sorry. He is Tony Stark.
He is 100%. He was born for that role.
Oh, my gosh. Wasn't he, though? He is the perfect person to play Tony Stark, because he is so much fun and so funny. in his interviews and that. But oh my gosh, a goat.
Funny guy, definitely funny guy.
So so all of the actors, they and crew. I mean, he didn't just say, "Okay, I'm the elitist. I'm bringing in just the actors for this." It was everybody. Everybody was invited to his parties. Apparently, if you're getting married, you might want to contact him. He's the event coordinator now. He does bar mitzvahs and weddings. I don't know, but what a fun. If you want to meet somebody, I'd want to meet Robert Downey Jr.
Definitely.
And Chris, any of these folks yeah. from the Avengers movies. All right, so back to the movie. One of my favorite parts and one of my least favorite parts was when Thor meets the Guardians. Right?
All right.
Okay. Least favorite part is when he's talking to Rocket. And you all know what I'm talking about. When he's sitting and him and Rocket and Groot all take off. They go because he's going to go get something. He's going to go get something. But he's sitting there and Rocket's talking to him. And he's talking like Thor did in Ragnarok, kind of off the cuff. But he was talking too much off the cuff for me. About some very serious things, some very bad things that have happened to him and really just happened to him.
Yeah.
And I thought, I think you need to be a little more serious in that vein. That was the only problem I had really with the whole movie.
Maybe. I think it was, I think grief shows in very unique ways.
All right.
That's what I have to say. And also, he's also 1,500 years old.
Well,
so,
he's
seen a lot of bad stuff happening. So maybe, and not even in the past 1,500 years, but also in the last couple of movies with Avengers and with the first Thor movie. Like, he's seen a lot of bad stuff happening. So I think he's starting to kind of become like, he's starting to kind of accept that bad stuff happens and that the only way to approach it is to look at the bright side.
Maybe he's still in grief and a little grief shock. He's not. He hasn't processed
grief
what his
shock. Literally grief shock.
Yeah. I get that because of the lightning and anyway. But one of the best parts of the movie, I think one of the best part, at least comedic parts of this movie, best part, is when they pull him in to the ship of Guardians of the Galaxy. And Drax cannot help himself.
Little Jack Sparrow action. For those of you who have seen it, there's some Jack Sparrow.
There is some, yes. So this is Dave Bautista talking about Drax meeting Thor for the first time.
I think right off the bat, Drax is, as well as the rest of Guardians, and as well as the rest of the Marvel Universe, is just super impressed with Thor, with we're just in awe of him. He's just like this god man. We just can't, and when we first meet him, we just can't get over how perfect he is. And Drax just wants to point it out over and over and over in just the most ridiculous ways of how handsome and perfect this specimen is.
How proportional. And they're so proportional.
That was Don Cheadle with Dave Bautista there too. But a little bromance going there maybe.
A little bit. A little bit.
One of the lighter moments of the film. Some very hard moments of this film.
Oh man, lots of hard. If you're going into the movie thinking that you're gonna come out all right, you got another thing coming.
Right. It is a very emotional film. I can understand why people got so wrapped up in the Star-Lord missteps, if you will. It's certainly not a film reminiscent of like the Star Trek film. If for all of us old folks out there that have seen the Star Trek one, where Spock goes into the reactor, the nuclear reactor, to save the ship and get them back to getting out of wherever they're at, away from Khan, the movie anyway. And he says the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And that really kind of doesn't happen in this movie.
Oh, no.
Because which I'm like, guys, I mean, the whole universe is at stake here. But
I like that. Especially coming
some
from
humanity there. Absolutely.
Yeah, especially coming from personally my favorite character. I don't want to spoil who says that, but can I?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what was barred from this podcast.
We've given spoilers. This is the spoiler alert. Yeah.
But I like that approach that Captain America took with that, because it just shows like character development, you know? Because in the first Avenger, in Captain America, the first Avenger, he sacrificed himself for all of those millions of people.
Right.
But now he's kind of changed his mind about that. He kind of has a greater appreciation for the individual and not so much as the greater good.
Yeah, maybe,
he kind of sees that like every person, you can't put a price on humanity.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Even though it's kind of screwing everybody else over.
Right.
It's honorable sentiments, I think.
So here's the last soundbite that we have, and this comes from Iron Man himself. And the question was, is Thanos the toughest adversary that he has ever faced, that Iron Man has ever faced?
Yeah, and by the way, it goes without saying that that's really saying something, because there's been a host of other villains, adversaries, antagonists, all that. But I think, and we were just talking about this, Hemsworth and Johansson and Ruffalo and I were just talking about that we use Thanos as kind of almost like it's a one-word name for all of us raising the stakes to something that we feel is the sum of all fears.
So that must be tough. That must be tough hanging with Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Hemsworth and Scarlett Johansson and Mark Ruffalo. Just we're just hanging out. What do you guys think of Thanos? That'd be interesting. That would be a nice dinner. Goat or no goat.
Great description of Thanos.
So
by the
absolutely
way. Perfect description. Just the embodiment of terribleness.
One name. Just that one name. So
yeah.
Very cool. Of course, if you haven't seen the movie yet, we apologize. If you're mad at us, I'm sorry.
There was like 5 warnings in there. I'm like, that's kind of your fault if you're at this point.
Anyway, $1 billion worldwide in 2 weekends and 1 full week. $1 billion.
Wow.
So it's going to be huge. It's going to be even more huge. The second one that comes out next May. Just so that, because people are going to want to know, how did this all play out? I know when we talked about this, Bobby, when we left the theater, it was like, I want to walk across the hall and go into the next theater and watch the rest of this.
Yeah, you can't. First of all, to catch the things that you miss.
Right.
But second of all, just because you can't believe, like your mind can't even process everything that's happened.
3 hours, almost 3 hours long, 250 something.
Worth every minute.
And like I said, they're pulling stuff from all over the place. You had said it's very reminiscent of a comic book.
Oh yeah, it's definitely like you're switching frames from you're expecting in the upper left-hand corner like a meanwhile ... yellow box to show up, because it's very, very reminiscent of how comic books are actually formatted.
Exactly.
Constantly jumping back and forth from this place, and then while that's happening, this is happening, and always jumping around. It might seem a little cluttered at first, just because so many things are happening, and you're trying to process everything. But once you get into that kind of cadence of the film, it's really enjoyable.
And if you're into spoilers, there's plenty of spoilers out there that give you an idea of what's coming down the road in the next movie. I'm going to try and stay away from those because I want to be surprised. I've heard some theories and seen some things that I wish I hadn't already because I like going into a new movie, with no expectations to see what it's like. And I did that with this one. I did happen to catch a little spoiler of the very beginning, like we had said, where we lose one of our beloved characters, and that bothered me. But at any rate, we hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the movie. Hope you were one of the $1 billion that Disney got for that. And just very excited to see what the next one is going to be in May. Not to mention Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's coming.
Yeah,
so.
I think that one's going to be good. I've seen
awesome, yeah.
parts of the trailer. I haven't watched the entire thing, but it looks promising. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, son, thank you very much for joining me on this Avengers Infinity War review.
Oh, you're welcome. Love to be on.
All right.
Kind of a hike, though, to get over to the
studio.
studio.
It was very difficult for you to walk from one room to the studio. Anyway, as Tim says, find us all over the social medias. You guys know where to find us. Check out our new recipe box. The new one will be coming out here pretty soon.
I heard the cameraman's really good looking in that one.
Well, Herb Bobby does pretty good. So check us out on YouTube, Resort Loop on YouTube. We'd love for you guys to subscribe to that, and we got some good stuff coming that way. And like us on Facebook, rate us on iTunes. And if you want to participate in the show, go over to Looper Nation Live, and we'd love to interact with you over there. And as Tim says, you've been listening to The Gateway to the Magic. See you, everybody.
Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoop.com.